hit, so they can survive for a while. I don't know how long the stockholders will hang in there.
Okay, just give them a minute. Ask them if they can hear you.
Can you guys hear me out there? We're having some sound trouble apparently. How about it? Anybody out there in Radio Land hear me? I'm getting nothing here. Can you see this screen?
Yeah, now they got you, I think. Try it again, ask them.
How about it? We're having some sound difficulty again here.
Can they see you?
Can you guys see me and hear me?
Okay, now you can rock and roll.
We're good. We're live. I'm not getting that on my screen, but as long as
Doesn't matter.
you've
You're
got it on yours.
You're good to go.
So have they heard any of the Celadon conversation or no?
Nothing.
Nothing about Celadon? What I was saying was, when I thought I was live, was I was talking about quite a bit of news in the trucking industry happening over the last month or so, and I was saying that how sorry I was to see Celadon go down. They were a mega carrier. They were a small mega carrier, not in the same league as Schneider or Werner or anybody like that. They had about 5,000 trucks. It's still, it was too bad. Right around Christmas time, you got to feel for the families there in a situation like that at any time, but especially at Christmas time. So I was sorry to see them go down. Steve Russell, that started the company and ran the company initially, was really quite a good guy, and he passed away a couple years ago. The company was taken over by, not taken over, but they appointed some new people to run it, and those guys just ran it right into the ground, robbed the bank. They're in trouble with the court system now. They're being charged with fraud and a few other things like that. But Celadon, the company, took the hit, and that's part of why they ended up folding. Which, when you think about those guys stealing money and it affecting all those families right before Christmas, I hope they throw the book at those guys. Anyway, Celadon, a number of years ago, had bought out a Canadian trucking company up here called Heinemann. And Heinemann had been a cattle hauling outfit. And we were all surprised when a freight haul outfit bought a cattle operation. But I guess Heinemann had some pretty nice real estate. It was pretty well located in southern Ontario here. And they had good operating authority, a good record. They had good customers, lots of good customers, other than the cattle guys that they were hauling for. Because what they would do was put dry freight on the trucks to get out west or to get where the cattle were or get down south. So they had freight contracts going south and west before they loaded the cattle to come back to Ontario. So Celadon scored those contracts going south and west for that freight, and it obviously was enough that they paid millions for the company. And Heinemann Celadon, I guess I should say, or Celadon Canada, primarily ran automotive freight out of southern Ontario and down into Texas towards Mexico way. And that was mostly what they did up here, as far as I was aware, anyway. But I'm sorry to see them go.
Make your comments brief. Don't go on too long.
Okay, but you're going to see more and more trucking companies fall in the next few years now that we're into 2020 and beyond. So that's the way it's going to go, I believe.
Hey, thanks, Craig. We see you in Super Chat. Craig likes the hours of operation in Canada and hope the U.S. does the same like the Canadians.
Why is that, Craig? Because we can drive for 13 hours as opposed to your 11. Is that why you like it better? I'm not sure. It just makes us work longer. I prefer the U.S. hours of service myself, but I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying anyway.
Did you do the AB5?
No, and I haven't talked. There's all sorts of stuff going on. I haven't talked about the AB5. Apparently now there's been a temporary reprieve by a judge in California that's going to be able to put off until January 13th. It was supposed to be implemented January 1st, this AB5, which really categorizes lease operators and owner operators as employees, and they would be treated as such and taxed accordingly. Now, a judge in California has delayed that until the 13th mostly because of a lawsuit filed by the Western Trucking Association out there, saying that this law will hit too many of them personally and financially, and their people will suffer too much. Their members will suffer unduly. And so the judge is going to have a look at this to see whether he thinks it's true or not. But at the end of the day, like that's what the pleas and the lawsuits were before CARB in California mandated their new rules, and they studied that, looked at that, and then went ahead with it anyway. And in this case, California has classified these guys as owner or lease operators and owner operators as employees, partially because California has decided that they're shy about $6 billion a year in unpaid tax from these small little businesses.
Got a little bit to say about the Australian bushfires before we get into the Q&A?
Yeah, we've got a number of followers in Australia, all really good guys. We chat back and forth with them all the time, and I was reading up on the Australian bushfires today. It's incredible, really. They're massive fires, and they're scattered all over, mostly in the southeast, in New South Wales, southeastern Australia, where the majority of people live. But they're scattered right across the country, really, to the total of, what was the last report? 32,400 square miles of Australia has been burnt. That's the size of Nova Scotia up here, or near North Carolina in the States. It's just a massive amount.
There are a few people on Super Chat who might be able to comment on the bushfires that are from Australia.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from the Australian truckers. I'm sure this has just messed their jobs right up, because they don't know where they can get to without being stopped because the road's closed, because there's a fire up ahead or something like that. I imagine that the smoke is intolerable. It'll reduce visibility, something fierce. It's an awful situation.
Dale has commented, he's from Australia, close to 15 million acres.
15 million acres. That's massive. I read today that it made the fire in what was that country in South America? They were complaining about the fires, and it's many, many, many times larger than that. I think it was Venezuela, but wherever it was anyway. Everyone was upset because there were fires in the Amazon. Well, that was nothing compared to what Australia is going through right now. So, and it's really just kind of the start of their dry season, and they calculate usually that their fire season ends around the end of March. So can you imagine? They're just getting rolling into the season where everything's really hot, really dry, and really flammable. So, man, I wish some luck this year. It sounds like a terrible deal over there.
Okay, let's get rolling then. Start with some questions.
Yes, please.
There's lots of them here. Thoughts on hotshot trucking?
Hotshot trucking, the DOT is going to focus more and more on these hotshot guys, because a lot of them have questionable authority. A lot of them have no authority. A lot of them are overloading their trailers for, the weight allowances of the trailers. There's a whole bunch of guys out there hotshotting all of a sudden that really don't know what they're doing. And they're using, pickup trucks and long trailers and breaking axle weight laws and all sorts of things. So I think you'll see the DOT really clamping down on hotshot trucking. And the other problem I have with hotshot trucking, not only is it, a whole lot of guys that really don't know what they're doing, they're just kind of learning, and they're learning on the interstates and highways. But from what I've been able to understand with hotshot trucking, almost all of them rely on load boards and load brokers. And to survive in trucking, you can't rely on either one of those groups, because they'll just sell you as cheap as they possibly can, because it puts more money in their pocket. So I wouldn't buy equipment and then rely on a load broker or a load board for my survival and to pay my bills and stuff like that. I just wouldn't do it. So that's my take on hotshot trucking.
We'll actually have a video coming up within the next couple of weeks on hotshot trucking, so do make sure you look for that one.
I don't know if any of you have been following the situation with Werner. They've lost another major lawsuit to the tune of $40.5 million for an accident they had in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and they had one of their rookie drivers kill a woman going the other way in her car or pickup truck or whatever it was, and it turned out that the rookie driver, he had 8 days experience, and the trainer, of course, was in the bunk, but it was because Werner had put them on a team load, a just-in-time load, is what the industry likes to call it. So there's no way the guy could have been training this rookie when he's in the bunk, because the hours of service rules don't allow it, for one thing. And it's just, and this isn't the first time that Werner's done this, and this isn't the first time that they've gotten a big lawsuit because of it. They had another $90 million lawsuit last year down in Florida, I think they were. And, Texas. I think it was Texas they were in. And they lost $90 million because the trainer was in the bunk, the rookie was driving, the roads were icy, and the rookie didn't know enough to pull over and find a safe place to land. And the car slid into him with a family and killed a couple of kids in the car and the mom and the driver, rather. I think the mom survived and she was the one that sued. But Werner, on the ice, he was still on his side of the road. This pickup truck or whatever it was slid across the median strip and hit Werner. So it wasn't, I don't know if I'd have found the same way that judge did there, because Werner was where he was supposed to be on the road. But what the judge's position was that Werner shouldn't have been there at all, because a professional driver should have known enough to get off the road. And that's a precedent-setting deal. And you wonder how often we're going to see that in the future. When the roads are icy and trucks start to slide and get into accidents, are the courts going to say, well, you're the professional, you should have known to pull over and stop? It's an interesting precedent. We'll have to see where that goes. But you'd think, what's that, like $130 million Werner's lost in the last year trying to run these rookie driver training teams. Like, you wonder, have they made any money from them after these two lawsuits? Someone's got to be looking at this pretty carefully. I bet you old Derek Leathers is going to have an uncomfortable meeting at the next shareholders meeting. I bet you he'll be in the hot seat for this for sure. But man, last report, Werner had 9,500 trucks. So can you imagine the kind of lawsuit money a company like Swift Knight would be into? Because they've got to be getting sued the same or more as Werner, and they've got 23,000 trucks. So I can't even imagine what Swift Knight pays in legal bills, and they're both running about the same category drivers, guys that shouldn't really be out there yet. What else have we got?
Somebody's mom called and they got to go home now. Matthew, your mom called. You need to go home.
You know what, Matthew, I understand that. My mom used to do that to me, and if I weren't home by when the street lights came on, I was in big trouble.
You were toast.
I was done, yeah, back then.
Josh, so. Super Duty.
No way. Josh, how are you?
Is Peterbilt 389 getting canceled?
No, it's not. No, were you going to buy one, Josh? I thought you were a Mac guy.
Yeah.
But no, nothing looming on the horizon that would kill the 389. In fact, it's one of their best-selling models. So nope, it'll be with us for a while yet.
What do you think about the Volvo Fh 750?
I've never really seen a Volvo I've liked, and I get crap from all the European guys telling me what good trucks they are, but the ones that we see over here aren't imported from Sweden. The ones we see over here are built over here, and they've had, ever since they've tried to manufacture Volvos in North America, they've had issues. So, and they're a lot better than they used to be, but still, I don't know. I had a buddy that recently went broke in a Volvo. He spec'd a new Volvo with an automatic transmission, and in the last 2 years, it went through 12 transmissions to the point that Volvo wouldn't stand behind the warranty anymore, and he was just done. So when I think of Volvo, I think of him and go, well, not the greatest purchase in the world. Ruined him anyway.
TJ asks, hypothetically speaking, if you ever sold your truck, what kind of number would you expect?
Hypothetically speaking, yes, Kathy? Hypothetically speaking, they told me down in Joplin at Peterbilt that it was they'd give me 60 US for it, and they'd turn around and flip it and sell it for about 75 or 80. So those were kind of the numbers I was looking at. But I'm not in Joplin and I'm not in the States, so I could probably part with it for about 60 grand.
Will Billy the Hillbilly, thank you. Thank you for the donation. So I only drive for farms, but I'm working on getting my CDL, and in the manual it said not to shift making turns. How many drivers follow that rule?
You know what? That's a really good question. I know I've done it, but I know I would try not to do it. But I bet you that's something that most guys don't even know, that they shouldn't try to be shifting when they're going around a corner because of the way the torque works and everything like that. But really good question, really good point.
GP Transco, we used to buy all Volvos. They drive extremely well in our opinion, but our drivers voted for Cascadia, so that's why their last 200 trucks that they've ordered were Freightliners.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've always understood that the Volvo was a very comfortable truck. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to know what your shop there thought of them, but I don't think you can go wrong with the new Cascadias. I think they're a pretty nice truck. Sharp looking.
Good all around truck.
Yeah, good all around truck.
Hello from the oil fields in North Dakota, running an old 72 Pete.
Man, that's trucking out there, and you're making good money too, from what I understand. So, and kind of handy to have a truck that old, because you can probably fix it yourself. I know that getting into a shop in the oil fields these days is a real challenge, and they've got a big backup and a waiting list to get in. So if you've got an old reliable grill that you can change the oil and stuff yourself, you're probably in much better shape than the guys with the new trucks. That's my take on it anyway.
Brandon, I drive a Scania in Ireland.
Man, Brandon, I want to drive a Scania. That's
I want to go to Ireland.
Been one of my dreams. My wife says she wants to go to Ireland. I've been to Ireland and it's beautiful. My wife's family is actually from Ireland, so she's always had a hankering to go. But it's a beautiful country. So, but I'd love to drive your truck, man. I hear they're really nice.
Thoughts on the W990?
You know, when I first looked at the 990, that reminded me of one of the great big TransStar conventionals that International used to put out. The shape of the bunk was the same. The shape of the hood was kind of the same. Even the grille and the size of the grille was pretty similar to the old. I wish I could remember what number International that was. 4300s or something, I think. The ones with the great big hood on them anyway. Big square hood from a number of years ago. And I thought, man, that looks just like a big International to me. I prefer the 900 to the 990 myself.
Which truck do you think is the best between a Pete 359, a 379, and a 389? I know what I vote. 359.
You vote 359?
Yep.
You've been hanging around with the Lettuce King.
Yes, I have.
I wouldn't vote 359. I'd have to vote 379 just because I'm the most familiar with that model, having had a few. The 359 in my memory had some quality control issues, particularly near the end of the run before they switched to the 379, because they were just trying to use up whatever leftover parts they had and putting them together and calling them numbered Peterbilts. And these numbered Peterbilts went for big bucks, and they were a collector item, but they were kind of cobbled together from the last parts they had. So the 389s, like, I love the truck, but they've got emission engines in them. And when you think of the truck, you think of the performance, and you think of how well it works and does the job. It's not going to be Peterbilt's fault, but these emissions engines aren't what the old ones used to be. So I'd pick the 379. You know, I put over 1 million miles on mine and never had any major trouble with it at all. It was a great truck for me.
359 Trucking, thank you. He quotes 359 for the win.
Woohoo! I guess I got outvoted. They are a cool looking truck. That's why the Lettuce King likes them so much.
Can you remember the stats on the Lettuce King's truck?
Oh, I don't even think I've seen a solid copy of what he's done. It's something stupid.
It's not stupid.
It's got like a 350 wheelbase or a 330 wheelbase or something like that. So typical Lettuce King truck. A beautiful looking truck from the pictures I've seen, but I it's a little long for my taste. I like great big long trucks for truck shows, but for having to work the thing, maybe it's just because I'm not a skilled enough driver.
You don't appreciate good art.
Well, I know it's art, but I've got to work the darn thing, and I'd be whacking buildings with something that long.
He's not going to work it.
I've got a buddy that's been working a 312 wheelbase since he bought the truck in 2000, and man, he manages just fine. He has no trouble getting that thing around, but he's one of the most skilled drivers I've ever seen. He's certainly better than I am. But
Michael Mueller asks if the Lettuce King is real, and absolutely he's real. I speak to him a few times per week, and we're getting ready to do a video on him when he's finished his truck rebuild in the spring. But he's for real.
Yeah, he won't bring that truck out now until the snow and the salt are gone. But yeah, he's got this amazing. He's never built a truck that wasn't cool looking. So I haven't seen this one in person yet, but you know it's going to be nice.
It's beautiful. He's done a very nice job on it.
Kathy wants to go for a ride in the Lettuce King's new truck in the spring, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't think he's going to let her drive it, though.
Yes, he will.
Has it got a 6 and a 4 in it, or no?
I believe so.
Yeah, the Lettuce King usually builds them with a 6 and a 4. So.
Well, I'll clutch and he can shift.
That'll mean you'll have to sit on top of him. Not that he'd probably mind that, but I might have an objection or two.
Michael Mueller wants to know if we can meet the Lettuce King one of these days on a live stream, and yes.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have him down sometime.
But for a Q&A, I don't know about that.
No? Yeah, I don't know.
That could be dangerous.
Suddenly I understand why you don't know what he would say. So you'd want to have like those professional networks and have like a 2-minute kill time on the mic or something.
What is the best model year for a Kenworth W9 that you'd recommend for somebody as an owner-operator?
Oh, man. W9s are good trucks. My problem with the trucks these days are the emission engines. So while I want to say something pre-2000, the newer the trucks were for the 900s, the tighter they were. Like the latest W900s off the line are beautiful trucks and tight. I guess I don't know what to say. If you could get one with a reliable engine, and I understand the PACCAR engines are pretty good. Cummins still has issues up here anyway. My favorite W9 was the W900A, and they ended those in about 1981. I sure wish I had one of those. But
Oh, Billy the Hillbilly, thank you one more time. His comment, when we haul manure, almost definitely overweight, it takes about a mile to get up to 55. Is that safe? All on country roads and not so much traffic, though. Hauling doo-doo.
sure, yeah. You've got the road pretty much to yourself. Why not? I've seen those big steel haulers in Michigan, coming out of Michigan, and I've seen them like just within the state because they can't leave the state pretty much. But I've seen them loaded up, right up, and headed up hills, and it takes them forever to get up to speed when they're going uphill. I heard one guy say the other day that not the other day, a few years ago now, that he was talking to his buddy. He said he was powering up the hill and he was still waiting for the steering axle to hit the ground.
Darius Hill, thank you. Any advice for a homeless trucker trying to balance being on the road and looking for a place to stay?
I never had a problem when I was on the road with working a few weeks and then splurging on a really nice hotel, and hopefully preferably somewhere where the weather was nice, and taking like a little mini vacation for a day or two if you could. And I went that way for years. So, but if you're looking for something to rent or own to just kind of land at once in a while, it would depend on what state you preferred and where you were looking, I would think. But, you really don't want to pay much because you're not going to be there very much. So maybe like a small apartment or something like that would suit you. But like I say, the really nice hotels, not the Motel Stixes, but the really nice hotels can work out just fine for a second home when you're living on the road.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan asks, what do you look for when checking your brakes before a hill? And how can you tell your tires are low when tapping them with a hammer?
Well, honestly, you can't really tell when the tires are low unless they're really low by tapping them with a hammer. The best thing to do is check the air pressure regularly. That's the best way to tell. And as far as the brakes are concerned, now I can't tell you this now because it's illegal for guys without a license to adjust brakes. But what we used to do before it became illegal was we'd block the truck on a flat piece of ground and get underneath, crank all the brakes down with, my truck took a 9/16 wrench, crank all the brakes down and then turn them back a quarter to a half a turn depending on which brake you were working at. And so that way, they'd be free of the drum, but as close to the drum as they could possibly be. So when you started to use the brakes were right there. And that kept them in compliance as well.
Michael asked, what is the best advice for high fashion for truck drivers over the road? And I told him a thong.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's one quick way to get arrested at the truck stop. Walk in with a thong. I don't know what the well-dressed truck drivers are sporting these days. Used to be button-up cowboy shirts, but
we have some new T-shirts coming.
yeah, they're going to set a new fashion trend.
Yeah.
So probably one of our new T-shirts will be what
Yeah.
the well-dressed truck drivers are wearing.
J065, it says you're ignoring me, but it's okay.
I'm not trying to ignore you. I don't have a screen with the questions rolling up. What's your question?
I can't keep up.
Blame the moderator.
Yeah.
What's his question, Kathy?
I'm sure he'll post it again. Disc brakes are a big thing now. I'm getting old. I know exactly what you're talking about. Somebody said an old cowboy shirt.
Yep.
Would you drive a winch truck?
As in like a tow truck, you mean?
I think that's what he means.
That looks like a lot of hard, dirty work. So I don't think I would. I'm not up for it. Maybe in my younger years, but and some of those guys have serious skill if you watch those guys working. Holy cow. There must be a course or something they can take to learn that stuff, because some of them are amazing what they can do.
J065. What is your favorite engine?
Oh, I'd have to think about that.
How long?
Probably the C15 Cummins. I love the 3408 Cummins. I like the earlier big cam, or wait a minute, 3408 Cat. Did I say Cummins there? The C15 Cat, the 3408 Cat, the small cam 400 Cummins. The DD16 is a good motor. Man, the Cat guys would be ready to shoot me if I said 3408 Cummins. Holy God.
Somebody said tracksuit and sandals would be the fashion statement, like in Eastern Europe.
Oh man, don't wind me up.
(13-speed or 18-speed?
I like the 18-speed, just because I have no problem pulling heavy weight and running in the mountains, but I prefer the extra gears in case I do need them. So I prefer the 18-speed.
What about a 250 Cummins?
Do they make a 250 Cummins?
I don't know.
That must be like for their little like city trucks and stuff. I don't know. Never really tried one.
My father's W9 with the 3406 and the old 15-speed Road Ranger still sticks in my mind. Best combo in my opinion.
Yep, I had a W900 with exactly that same combo, and it was a great truck. We ran that truck, Kathy, how many years? Quite a few years anyway, and it was a really good truck. I love the 15 over too, but you know, some of the gears could be a little tall, especially at the top.
Fred, I started trucking with a 250 Cummins back in '78 and a '73 Western Star.
Nice truck. Nice truck. I'm just trying to think what I had there in the
what
early
year
days.
was that one?
Man, that was a long time ago. I had the Mac that I drove was a 300 Mac. I think the smallest Cummins I ever drove was a 350.
Somebody mentioned something about skid school. We're trying to arrange for Dave to go to skid school in the spring. I want to go to skid school.
You don't want to send me to skid school. I'll wreck their truck.
I might too.
I already know how to skid a truck. I've done it more than a few times, and I never liked it once.
White dog, I'm not a trucker. I'm a white collar guy hooked on trucking videos.
Really? Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Why do people lease purchase? From the terms I've read, you'd have to be insane, a slave to the company and taking all the risk. Thoughts?
I'd have to agree with you completely. It's like, what did they used to say about those old coal miners? Selling your soul to the company store. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would lease a truck from a carrier. I'd never do it. I've known so many guys that got beat on those deals, and I never knew one that succeeded. The never plan.
A few people have asked what's up with AB5. Maybe you could give just a very brief summary of where they are right now.
Yeah, AB5, they had a judge repeal it temporarily in California because the Western Trucking Association filed a lawsuit against AB5 claiming that instituting this law or implementing this law would create too much undue havoc and hardship and financial hardship on many of their members, to the point that this California judge ruled that maybe California should delay it. It was supposed to be implemented January 1st. They haven't done that. They've delayed the implementation until January 13th while they study the merits of this lawsuit to see, how it strikes them. But at the end of the day, all sorts of guys, as I was saying, all sorts of guys were affected financially when they implemented CARB. and their regulations, and they hummed and hawed, but they still implemented it and put it through. So I expect this is just a delay. I expect they'll still go through with it.
Comment from Michael, stay away from U.S. Express.
Yeah, I've never heard anything good about U.S. Express. And man, I used to pass their building every once in a while when I was going south on I-75. I think they're in Chattanooga, and it's a pretty damn nice looking building. And when you think all the truck drivers that have paid for that beautiful building and been getting soaked out of money so these guys could have that fancy office, it makes me cringe. Like there's money in trucking. It's all at the top and none of it at the bottom, and that just sends me when I see stuff like that.
Rusty asks, I watched your B-Train video the other day, and why don't I see them here in the southern states?
Oh, it'll be just a matter of because the local DOT down there won't regulate them. They're actually a pretty nice setup, but they're longer than a 53 in most cases, and it takes a different set of skills to run them, but it's not hard to run them. I don't know. Just, the U.S. for the most part is pretty strict on the configurations that you can run. And for the most part, I agree with it. You get all these wild and wonderful combinations that you see up here. But like we're pulling triple 53s up here now. And I wouldn't do it, but some guys are doing it. But, you wouldn't want to see stuff like that. So the U.S. likes to keep it simple. And I got to agree with their methodology.
What was your favorite place to drive?
Ooh. Half you guys are going to call me crazy, but I really liked California. Not so much maneuvering in LA or something like that, but I used to have to run up from I'd empty out in LA and run up to Salinas on the coast. And that drive, I always really enjoyed that drive because I was in no rush. There were lots of cool things to look at, and I liked it through there. I like Arizona. Arizona's beautiful. I like Wyoming. Just any place where once I get out of the big cities, I'm happy. I like looking at the countryside. Lots and lots of pretty places in the States. Colorado, just beautiful scenery. It's part of why I did it for a living.
Ross M., please share your opinion on Landstar Canada.
I talked to a guy years ago from Landstar Canada, and he basically, I was looking for freight going west, and he basically told me that Landstar would let you do whatever you wanted, but you were paying for everything, and the only lanes they had that made money were running like automotive stuff from here down to Ohio or something like that. So I don't know. Landstar at one time was a real force in the trucking industry, but and they had all these guys they called Landstar agents, but we're just at the end of the day they were just load brokers, and Landstar wasn't the only people using them. So if a guy's got to find his own loads and phone around and get his own freight and talk to load brokers all over the country, what would you need Landstar for? Just get your own authority.
Any love for Freightliner Classic?
Any luck for them? I don't think they're coming back, if that's what you're asking. Freightliner.
Any love? Any
love for Freightliners? I liked the old ones with the flat hoods. The hoods were aluminum back then, and there was a guy outside of town here that had just a really sharp looking truck, and I really liked those old flat hood Freightliners. Not as big a fan of the newer ones. I've gotten used to the drop noses. I kind of like the Cascadias. If I had to drive a drop nose truck, I could drive a Cascadia. But Freightliner went through a period there, in the 90s, where most of them just seemed to be junk for a while, and everyone got a sour taste in their mouth. They were lighter than the Pete or the Kenworth, but it was because they had really thin parts and stuff like that. They kind of cheaped out on the parts. I helped a guy change a clutch rod in Salinas one time, and the rod for pushing in the clutch that was connected to the pedal broke, and it was about, this rod was about as thick as this pen. No wonder it didn't stand up after a while. The one in my truck was about twice that. So they were lighter, but there was a price to be paid for those.
Thoughts on hourly rates as opposed to paying by the mile for large carriers?
I'd throw pay by the mile right out the window. I don't think it's a fair system of payment anymore. Maybe it once was, but with the traffic, when you're sitting in traffic or sitting at customers' docks and you're not compensated fairly for that, I think they should do away with that. That's an archaic system. As far as driving transports for an hourly rate, I think that should start at $25 or $35 an hour, depending on where you live and what you're doing. But yeah, at least $25 an hour just for running around in the countryside, and a whole lot more if you're doing LTL in LA or something like that, or Chicago. Depends on the job.
How can you tell when a clutch is going?
Oh, you can feel it. You can feel it slipping. It'll chatter. The truck will lose drive momentum. You can hear it howling sometimes, and sometimes there's no warning. They just explode. But for the most part, you can tell when they're going. You'll feel them slip and you'll hear them chatter, but not always.
Were train horns popular in the 90s?
Yes, they were. Yeah, everybody had train horns. I'm probably the only guy that didn't have train horns because I don't know. It just didn't work for me. But all sorts of guys had these damn train horns, and they were a big fad for a while.
When they worked.
And I knew one guy that was coming through Gary, Indiana, and he's showing off, and he cranked on his train horns, and then the valve stuck, and all the air drained out of his truck, and he came to a screeching halt on 994 through Gary there, just because he ran out of air. The train horns drained all his air tanks. He didn't think it was funny. I thought it was hilarious.
Thoughts on percentage pay?
The problem I have with percentage pay is you never truly know if you're getting an accurate pay, because carriers don't want to show you shippers' bills, or they can forge bills, make up bills. Some carriers don't even show you the bills. So no, I'm not for percentage pay. Now, having said that, I know some flatbed guys that work on percentage and make really good money. They're really happy with it. But I'm a skeptic by heart, so I'd want to see the original paperwork. Most of the time, they won't show it to you. So that's my take on that, anyway.
Train horns make the kids happy when they do the arm pump.
Yeah, the kids like the train horns. Most of the guys too mounted the valve for the train horns down beside the driver's seat on the left-hand side. But that's where I drive my stocking feet. That's where I like to put my boots, in that spot right there. So there's another reason I didn't go for train horns.
Anyone from Australia on the super chat tonight? There was a fellow. I don't know if he's still with us.
I had a guy ask me the other day on the comments if I could back up an Australian road train. Of course, I've never tried it. I'd love to try it. I'm not sure I'd be able to do it right away, but that's got to be something awesome. And there are guys out there that can do it. You just know there are. So there'd be an awesome skill to have.
Comment from James Stenler Music. I learned today that apparently Australia hasn't had manual semis since like the 60s. Huh.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Is that the case?
Don't know.
Geez, I'm going to have to check into that. I did not know that. Geez, we haven't had very good luck with automatic transmissions over here in North America for trucks yet. So I'd be curious to know if they've had the same problems in Australia and Europe, if that's the case. Like I told you, my one buddy that went broke because the automatic transmission kept spitting out of his new Volvo, and for the most part, and they're coming. You know what? No matter what, the fleets are speccing them. But our experience with them so far has been that they're kind of a hit and miss deal. Some of them work great, some of them spit out. And for guys that have to hook up a PTO to an automatic transmission, apparently that's pretty expensive, quite expensive.
Alexandra says $10. I'm overweight with this ice cream I have. Going over the scales, I guess.
You're a lucky man. You can probably eat your way out of trouble if they pull you in. I hauled a couple loads of block chocolate. Who the heck was that for? And anyway, I used to tell my buddies that if I got caught in the scale, I would just eat it until I got down to legal weight because I love chocolate.
Jake Cobb, any advice on dealing with a DOT inspection?
All you can do there is be polite, be respectful, don't talk, and just take whatever they throw at you and thank them for it at the end of the day. So they don't, because they can always give you more, believe me. So no, just play it easy with them. And some of them are really good guys too. So just, be respectful.
Gail has a comment. Make dispatchers automated. The live ones are horrible. Ooh, that's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
In their defense.
Autonomous dispatchers.
What a great concept. We got to introduce that. In their defense, I've had a couple of amazing dispatchers, but for the most part, most of them aren't too amazing. So, but there are a few good ones out there, believe me. I've known guys that will follow dispatchers from company to company just because they like working with those guys and they could trust them not to do something stupid. But yeah, these days, dispatchers just seem to be kids with computers, and most of them can't even get their Toyota Corolla home, let alone directing a tractor trailer.
Comment from GP Transco. To be honest, we have not had a single driver who was used to a stick who came out on fleet and got an automatic and a new Cascadia who didn't end up liking the automatic more. Even we were surprised.
Oh, that's interesting.
The right truck, probably. Nice brand new truck.
Yeah, I think for a guy like me, there's probably a learning curve
I'd say so.
to adjust and get used to them. But that's good to know. That's positive feedback on those things. That's good to know.
John Hart, $50 donation. What's your thoughts on the future of trucking as a whole? I just turned 33. I've been OTR for almost 10 years, and I'm trying to decide if I want to order a new Pete or just get out altogether before I'm too old to go back to school.
I don't think I'd be ordering a new Pete in today's trucking climate, considering the cost and what the freight pays and stuff like that. They'll be trucking around for our lifetime at least anyway. I wouldn't sweat these autonomous trucks, but it's kind of a risky time to be, for a single owner operator I'm talking, or for a single independent. It's kind of a risky time right now. I don't think I'd be investing. This is one of those periods, and trucking has done ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys, and this is one of those times that I'd be sitting back and driving a company truck. In fact, that's exactly what I'm doing these days. So, and thank you for the donation, by the way, but that'd be my take on it.
Seek out a great company and stick with them.
Yeah, and a lot of the older hands are doing that because, it's a safe place to hide, to keep your income secure, and you're not subject to freight slumps as much if you're getting paid by the mile by a carrier at least. So, it's kind of a safe place to be these days.
Christian Trucks and Trains, thank you. Question is, and I bet you I know the answer. Well, maybe I don't.
I'll let you answer it then.
No. Mac or a K-Whopper?
Well, take a stab at it, Kathy.
I was going to say a K-Whopper, but Then I wasn't sure.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah,
I'd
okay,
agree with you.
I thought so.
I don't see many Macs on the highway.
No, that's true.
I think
highway
they make
trucks.
good construction equipment
Mm-hmm.
trucks, but do I have time to tell my Mac construction truck story?
Sure.
The Lettuce King, his father is involved in the construction industry, and a buddy of his bought a new Mac cement truck. And 2 weeks in, the truck quit while the barrel was loaded and rolling with cement. And they couldn't get it going. And the cement hardened in the barrel, and they ended up writing off the truck. And they're still chasing Mac for the cost of that because they say it's warranty, and Mac's just dodging the issue. But it basically ruined the truck.
I love the Superliner. Lots of people love Macs.
Yeah, Mac has a real following too, and they've been around forever. No, I know guys that like them, but you just don't see them doing long haul with them. And I think part of the problem with Macs is when you're out in the middle of Nebraska or Wyoming and the thing quits on you, it's hard to find a place to work on it. That's one of the issues I have with them. You know, you can land anywhere. Freightliner has an amazing dealer network, and Kenworth and Pete are not too far behind, but Max and Volvo's too now, although Volvo's getting better, but Max particularly suffer from a very small dealer network and a hard time getting parts and stuff like that. So
Michael Mueller. Where did that go? I love my wife dearly as well, but that doesn't mean I want to see her every night, so he likes being on the road.
Man, I'm not telling on you.
I hope she's not on Super Chat.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell on you, Michael.
TJ, whenever I'm feeling blue, I picture Dave with the hockey stick gear shifter. Always makes me chuckle. That was fun doing that video.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You wouldn't believe how many Canadians I got crap from for cutting up a perfectly good hockey stick. And I thought they were kidding. Some of them were serious. That's like, I don't know what. It's sacrilegious, I suppose, but I was never a big hockey fan anyway.
James, currently in AZ training at Tri-County in Ayr, and I've been in contact with Herb Transport about a job once I get my license. People say left and right, go to Herb, no one better in Ontario. Agreed?
Herb is a good carrier.
Yeah, they're a good
They're a good
company.
carrier. They've got lots of work and lots of different type of work. Like we see Herb 5 tons up here peddling to the stores and stuff like that. I know when I was hauling meat, I used to see them at the meat inspection in Detroit all the time. They go everywhere and anywhere. They've got a lot of freight. They're a good group.
They have a good reputation.
Good reputation.
And have had for a long time.
And they've been around for a while too.
Yes.
Quite a while. Yep. Yeah, no, it's a good place to work for sure.
Alexander, thank you. Says, you cut up a hockey stick?
Here we go.
That's sacrilegious.
It's yeah. That's what I've been told. I had no idea I'd create that much controversy when I sawed that thing up in my driveway here.
Oh man.
But it was fun doing that video though. The guys at work thought it was pretty funny.
Michael Mueller knows the saying, Herb is just another cool move. That's their slogan.
That's their slogan.
That's
yeah.
it.
And you see guys that go to work there, and 5 or 10 years later, you're still running into them, and they're still working there, and that's a really good sign.
A few people have mentioned wanting to know about Stevens Transport. Or Stevens Trucking, Stevens Transport.
Huge carrier, based out of Dallas. They've got a lot of good customers. Their equipment is nice. My understanding of Stevens is that they're difficult to deal with, particularly if you're doing your driver training there. And I've had a number of Stevens guys, new guys, complain to me about their sleep apnea program. It seems like every second guy that applies to Stevens, they want to put him on the sleep apnea program. The driver will pay into that, and of course Stevens owns the sleep apnea clinic, so they might be running a bit of a scam there. I've heard negative things about that, but so good and bad, I guess.
Somebody has commented that Stevens is governed very low speed.
Oh well, that could be true too. That could well be true. I haven't seen one of their guys on the road recently, so I couldn't.
But that could be dictated from their insurance company.
Yeah, and as Kathy says, it could be their insurance company dictating that rule.
It says, but Stevens is still faster than Prime. It's not a very high bar.
Prime, don't get me started. Oh well. Some of the smallest sleepers I've seen in years were working at Prime. Freightliner makes this one model drop nose truck, and the sleeper on the thing's about as wide as this bottle here. And they must have to sleep on their side or something. I don't know. Like the trucks have got to be really light and really maneuverable, but man, those bunks are tiny. Look like the old coffin sleepers.
Greg P., I just got my CDL in Chicago, wondering what to look for company-wise. Love your channel, appreciate your advice. Thank you, and you're welcome. Check out GP Transco.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm impressed with everything I've seen from them, so have a good look at them. GP Transco.
Prime Inc. is now called New Prime Inc. now.
Yes. Yes, after a major lawsuit a number of years ago, they had to change their name, fold the company down, start it back up, and now they're New Prime. Only they're not that new anymore because they've been doing that for quite a while. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be the very last trucking company I would work for. In fact, I wouldn't work for them.
Prime is the only one that I can pass.
Well, I don't know whether to be honest with you or not, but I may as well be. If you're going to pass there, don't let them talk into leasing a truck. Because that's their favorite trick. One of their favorites.
Okay, a couple more questions, and then we should probably wind it down.
Okay.
Top 3 mega carriers. There's a question for you.
Well, if you're talking size, it's Swift Knight or Knight Swift or whatever they call themselves. They're the biggest, definitely. Schneider's got about 10,000 trucks. Werner's got about 9,500 trucks. If I was going to work for a mega carrier, it would probably be Schneider, because I think they're the best run mega carrier out there anyway.
Somebody's asked if that's vodka you've got in the jug.
No, just water. Just water.
Thank you, Song of the South. The question is, have you heard of the song Southern Shaker?
Yes, I have, and Gant was his name. I remember him. But he was a high miler from, oh man. I ran into him a couple times crossing Arizona along the bottom years ago. But yeah, Gant. I can't think of his first name. I'm trying to picture the door of his truck because he had his name on the door of the truck. But yes, I know that song.
Okay. I think we'll wind it down now. Just a brief announcement. If you haven't already joined in on our Discord server, make sure that you check out our Discord server. There's a link in the community tab on YouTube. I think I recognize some names from the super chat, people who are in the Discord server. And also our new format of our podcasts on YouTube. We've only done one. We are getting ready to do another one, released next week. Hope you guys like them. They're much longer format, and we're looking into pushing them out on some podcast platforms. And I want to thank everyone who donated in Super Chat tonight. You guys are just amazing. That was great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And just so you know, I've been digging those podcasts, so join us. I'm kind of enjoying those.
He gets really wound up for them.
Check it out. Take care. Keep the rubber side down. I'll be talking to you guys soon. We'll see you on the back haul.
Night, everyone.
Good night.